Please remember, the views and opinions expressed by this show or any other show on DV Radio and its guests are strictly those of said individuals and do not reflect those of the DV Radio staff, nor the staff of Dysfunctional Veterans.
DV Radio.
And we are back. Barracks Talk on dvradio.net.
Thank you, Bo. All right. So, now that's a great way to lead into our next guest. His name's Chris from Objective Zero. Is he with us?
I'm here.
All right. So, let me give everybody a quick background, and then you can correct me on all the things I mistake. I guess. You can find them. All right, everybody, at ease. What they're trying to do, everybody, is we've got these folks over here from this organization called Objective Zero are trying to raise a boatload of money to launch an app to help end veteran suicide. Objective Zero is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to eliminating veteran suicide through the mobile app, which anonymously connects users to mental health care professionals, veterans, service members, or religious authorities willing to talk with veterans in need. Objective Zero is the first technology-focused nonprofit to take a proactive approach to eliminate veteran suicides. To make this a reality, they need to raise $100,000. These funds will be used to develop the app, recruit a network of volunteers to field phone calls, and market the app to veterans. Donate today and help them out. How can they donate there, Chris?
Well, right now what we've got going on is a Kickstarter campaign on the Kickstarter platform. It's part of our first phase of fundraising. We're trying to raise $35,000 on Kickstarter, and that will get our foot in the door to start building our mobile application.
All right, sounds great. So Bo will have links in the chat and stuff like that. And we're going to get a push up on the page. So how did this all come about, and what brought you to? Why are you doing this? And how? Personally, why you?
Right, that's a great question. So before I begin, let me just say that I want to say thank you for having me on your podcast tonight. This is fantastic, and I really appreciate this opportunity. Also, I want to say that I speak for myself. I am an active duty service member. I don't speak for the Department of the Army, the DOD, or any other USG organization. My opinions and my thoughts are my own. Where Objective Zero came from.
Sorry, go ahead. I apologize. I'm going to cut my interruptions down to zero. Go ahead, sir.
Right. So Objective Zero initially began about 2 years ago. I was approached by one of my former comrades, Justin Miller. He was going through a very dark time in his life. He reached out to me, and I really didn't know what to do. So I said, hey Justin, what do you want from me? And he said, I just want someone to listen. And I sat there and listened to him for about 6 hours. And after talking to him, I said, hey, we need to tell your story. I think that'll help you out a lot. And over the course of the next several months, we worked together. We wrote his story out. We published it. And then we realized that we weren't doing enough to prevent veterans from, taking their own lives. And we needed to move from raising awareness into taking action. And I started to recruit some friends, some really brilliant people at Georgetown, some of my fellow veterans and service members, and Objective Zero was born.
That's great. I'll tell you what, when I'll make this promise. If Senator Brown is one of the people that's in the running for the VA secretary, if by chance he does secure it, you need to, when you hear that announcement, if it is Senator Brown, give me a call. I can, he's brought up the fact that one of his approaches to the VA will be to work with nonprofit organizations, in addition to having the VA connect with organizations like Battle and Distress. If you had your app, something like that, and he would be somebody that could really help if he gets into the secretary's job. So, what experience? What qualifications and experience does your organization bring to the table to do something like this?
Right, that's a great question. So, at the end of the day, we know, less than 1% of our nation serves presently. We're looking at something like 0.45%, 0.5%. The other 99% of the nation doesn't serve. And so, we've come to the conclusion that if we don't look out for one another, no one else is going to do it for us. And so, our qualifications are, we are a network of, volunteer veterans and active duty service members. We've also got licensed clinical therapists. We have spiritual counselors. We're recruiting ambassadors. We're even incorporating existing platforms that are out there, existing suicide prevention hotlines. You know, like it or not, once we decide to wrap them up into our mobile application, you know, they're obligated to answer the phone anyways. So, you know, everyone's going to be trained. Everyone's going to be part of this network, and we'd like to bring in more and more of these existing platforms.
Okay. Why isn't the VA doing something like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the VA, if a veteran is in crisis and he calls the VA has very few options. One, you know, they can admit him into the emergency room, or they can, you know, dispatch 911 to his location or her location if they think they're in imminent danger to themselves or someone else. They can schedule that veteran an appointment, and that's about it. Alternatively, a veteran in crisis or a service member or a family member in crisis could call the Veterans Crisis Hotline. And that, of course, has been a mixed bag. You know, we're looking at something like 75% of calls are answered within the first minute or two. Only about 75% of text messages ever receive a response. They're overwhelmed. They're understaffed. And make no mistake about it. I think
you're absolutely right, Chris. You're absolutely right. We have, I don't know how familiar you are, but we have on the back end of the page, we have a team of volunteers that go through training to just moderate the page, and they triage and assess and refer vets in crisis to our approved list of organizations. And with that being said, as a last resort, I mean, the crisis line is always last. And the reason is, and Recoil here can tell you, is just what you said. It's a shit show. I can say shit show because this is DV radio, but it is. And, you know, do you know of how much money goes towards the veteran crisis line?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head how much money is diverted specifically for the Veterans Crisis Line. What I do know is that the VA's budget request for 2017 is in the neighborhood of about $180 billion, which rivals the entire defense budget of the People's Republic of China.
You're correct. You're correct. And but most of that is, yes, and the bulk of that is salaries and veteran claims. But what I was getting at with that was, you know, if you took a fraction of that money and gave it to organizations that have proven themselves. I mean, we'd have to see. I'm going to hope for the best for all new technologies. Everything should be coming into play to help end this epidemic. And you know, I think the biggest problem with government-run organizations is the government isn't good at running anything. You know, you look at healthcare. You know. And you know, and there are some. It's just like you got the 50 states. You got 50 different ways of doing things, and some work, some don't, and you should adapt that. I think the app, coupled with awareness and the social media platform, this could be a great success and another tool in the tool bag for veterans to use. I mean, social media, Christian. When you admit, there's a whole millions of vets being missed daily on social media. Or on their life.
Absolutely, you know? Right.
Right. That's my rant. So where are you at in your goal to raise this money? And when did you launch?
So we launched the day after Christmas, and we had a fantastic first 5 days. We raised almost $18,000 in the first 5 days. Then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day hit, and we hit a plateau. Currently, we have 99 backers who have pledged $19,562 of our $35,000 goal, and we have 17 days to go. And if you didn't know, Kickstarter is an all-or-nothing endeavor. If you fail to reach or exceed your goal, then you receive nothing, and all of the pledges go back to their original donors with no money lost.
How much time is there on that Kickstarter campaign? What do you have for a time limit?
We have 17 days remaining, and we have about $15,000 more that we need to raise.
Okay. So, well, also, too, we'll get you in touch with the Dysfunctional Vet Show. That's also on DV Radio, and that'll get you another thing. And I would also suggest reaching out to a few other organizations, Warrior Point, stuff like that. I'm sure you are already scrambling to find some more platforms. and definitely we'll get you up on the page. So what else? Recall, what's on your mind?
Well, when it comes to, and you guys touched on it a little bit, if the VA changes the way that we hope that it does, and they start utilizing NPOs or nonprofit organizations, that's going to be such an incredibly valuable asset. I work with DV. I also work with several other veterans organizations, and when I see what is accomplished on a daily basis, day after day after day, by 100% volunteers at these nonprofit organizations versus what I hear from these government programs that cost millions of dollars and accomplish a fraction of the goal. It's just fucking mind-blowing how much money is wasted and thrown away by government bureaucracy. If you really want to help out veterans, find an NPO that you believe in, like this one that Chris is here for, Objective Zero, and give them your money, because it's actually going to go to something. It's actually going to accomplish something.
Yeah, and that's why I said don't forget. I was just talking to the senator, like I said, last week, and I never thought about that. And he's thinking outside the box. These vet organizations or the VA. I don't really see them partnering with anybody. Maybe locally with veteran homelessness and stuff, but
even that they're doing away.
You don't have to whisper. But even that they're doing away with. Yeah. So okay. So what I'd like to ask you now too is, and you tell me as much as you want or don't want to, but you said you were active duty. And I'm sure you've got to watch your clearance and all that. But what kind of experience in the military do you have? How long have you been in? What branch? And if you are a Marine, what's your record for eating crayons?
No crayons. So I originally enlisted in the South Dakota Army National Guard in 1997 while I was still in high school. Shortly after I graduated, I ended up re-enlisting to go active duty. I served in the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment up in Anchorage, Alaska. After 9/11, I felt like I wasn't maximizing my own personal potential, and my wife also thought I wasn't maximizing the Army's pay scales, and so I went green to gold and earned my degree from the University of South Dakota's ROTC program. Commissioned 2004 as an infantry officer, was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado in 212 Infantry. I deployed with 2nd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division to Baghdad during the surge from 2006 to 2008. As soon as I redeployed, as soon as I returned stateside, I volunteered to go again. I went to Afghanistan for my second deployment only about 8 months after I returned from Baghdad. I served on a provincial reconstruction team there for about a year, came back, completed some schooling, took command of an infantry rifle company and deployed them to North Afghanistan for some counterinsurgency operations in North Afghanistan, Bravo Company 218 Infantry. That was my third deployment. So following that, I came back, did some more schooling, went to Georgetown, also deployed to Israel's West Bank during Operation Protective Edge during Israel's Summer War of 2014. I served in Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti, Africa for a brief while, and currently out in Hawaii, holding it down on Freedom's Frontier for all of you.
Well, absolutely. So you're closing in on. You're on your 20-year mark. Yeah,
I'm pretty close. But like I said, I went to Georgetown on the Army's time and the Army's time, so they pretty much, I pretty much owe them the rest of my natural life.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll have to say this. First of all, one is a little factoid about DV. I don't know what's going on, but this is like the third week in a row we've had officers on. Two, you don't sound like you're that old, so that's good. Three, with those deployments and everything, I'm going to guess that you got a good insight into some of the readjustment problems, and hopefully you're conquering them, and I'm sure you have your own little battles going on. But it sounds like you got your collective shit together, sir. So, and kudos to you, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And are you tabbed, or are you a tabless bitch?
I am tabbed.
All right. So 97. So I already know that there's no way you went before that, but I got to get up there, Dahlonega. You know, I was in the last class in mountains to go through hooches, and I was the first class because I got recycled in mountains to go through that new building, the 3-story one that they got rid of. Yeah, so that's how old I am. But,
Yeah, you're dating
all right,
yourself.
what's that, sir?
I said you're dating yourself. I think
No,
when I heard your bio earlier.
But that's also too. I'm kind of proud. I went back when Ranger School was kind of hard.
Yeah,
So,
still
Chris,
hard.
for our
I
listeners, Chris, where can they reach you at other than your Kickstarter campaign, like your website, social media platforms, if they want to be a part of the team for Objective Zero and all that good stuff?
Right. That's a great question. So you can reach out to us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @ZeroVetSuicides. We're also on Facebook. You can find us by doing a search for Objective Zero app, ending veteran military suicide, or you can go to our website at www.objectivezero.org.
Awesome, and all those links are in the description of the podcast when this goes up. And I've dropped the website and the Kickstarter campaign links on dbradio.net in the chat room as well.
Okay, again, you said you have 17 days left for this campaign?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so there's a PM coming to you through the Skype chat. Also, too, I'm going to work and see what I can do to get you plugged in. I'll probably launch up Monday on the page. I'll talk to you off air. What else can we do here?
Hey,
What are some of the questions?
I got one.
You got a question? Thank you.
So, since I'm not familiar,
Oh, sorry, female vets. Go ahead.
sorry, Six is talking while I'm trying to talk. So, since I'm not familiar with this whole Kickstarter program, website, whatever thing, right?
Right.
If you don't reach your goal, can you restart it?
Yes, we can. And many Kickstarter projects do kind of relaunch later, especially once they've kind of incorporated some of their lessons learned. That's something that we could certainly do if we don't reach our goal.
We hope have to, right?
Right. And right now we're actually kind of running a YouTube campaign where we're kind of doing these video blogs talking about stupid Kickstarter projects that are more important than saving veteran and military lives. Our co-founders, myself, Blake Bassett, we've been making these video blogs on stupid projects that are raising tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars and have thousands and thousands of backers. And yet they're absolutely ridiculous. I'm looking right now on one.
Make a movie about drinking and stuff. Now, it's one of the questions is, I'm married to a female vet. And one of the things I always notice is everything that's available to the male veterans is not necessarily available to female vets, whether that be programs for PTSD or homeless services, et cetera, et cetera. What steps have you taken to accommodate female vets? Or have you thought about that at all in the application of this app that you're developing?
Absolutely, we have. Not only are some of our staff members and boards of directors female themselves, but many of our ambassadors are also female. And what we're doing to make sure that we can address anybody's concerns, the app is anonymous. It connects people instantly, but individual users have the ability to tailor their networks. So when they use this app, they can actually determine who they want to speak to. So if you're a female veteran and you have concerns that you don't really want to talk to a male veteran, which is fine, you can actually tailor who you want to reach out to. And just because I'm an infantryman and I think sometimes when we use the language online to describe what the app is, it makes it hard to understand how this app actually functions. So I'll break it down infantryman style. This app is actually like Uber for suicide prevention hotlines. The problem with existing hotlines is they're point-to-point. So one person calls a hotline, and if that hotline is busy, that person has to wait on hold until one of their responders is available. And what we've observed is that we can distribute that hotline over the entire nation, over the entire DV nation, for example, and everyone can be a potential ambassador. And so when there's a veteran in crisis, be they male or female, at the touch of a button, we can connect them through voice, text, or video instantaneously and anonymously to a network. And the first person to accept the call can take the call. It doesn't take minutes or it doesn't take any time at all.
Okay. And the other obvious question, Chris, would be the anonymity for it. We deal with this. We know from firsthand knowledge that the reluctance to reach out is people finding out, whether their family whether the person's active duty or even could be an officer, and they got to protect their clearance. What assurances do they have that there's no way that their information is being tracked, stored, their phone number, information like that, a digital footprint, so to speak? Do you store data?
Absolutely, that's an important question, and it's always very difficult with mobile applications. How much data can you store? Dealing with HIPAA concerns, dealing with privacy concerns, and so it'll all be laid out in our terms of use and our user agreement. All of our privacy protections that we will afford both users and ambassadors of the Objective Zero app. So it will be completely anonymous unless the user chooses not to be anonymous. So if you end up having, kind of forming a relationship between ambassador and user, you can choose to build that habitual relationship, and individually you can choose to breach that anonymity. However, if you choose not to, your data will always be protected.
Okay. Well, I would say this as we wrap this up here, is that I would like, if you have the time, and I'm sure Bo won't object, with your deadline approaching, I'm excited about this, and I feel confident that somebody strong at the helm here that you can get this done. Why don't we have you come on again next week, and let's see what progress has been made, and give you that one more push, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. Bo? I'd love to come back.
Bo, is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah, and, sir, I want to talk to you offline a little bit. I have some people to put you in contact with that maybe we can even get you some more exposure through some of the other organizations that are out there with social media pages and whatnot.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so, hey, and you got anything else that you need to get out there, Chris, that we missed on that you want to say before we push all your links again and then go to break?
No, I just want to say thank you to all of you. I think you've got a fantastic team. I'm really grateful that you brought me on your show. And I would just like to say that as veterans and active duty service members, I think it's part of our duty to ensure that our society doesn't take for granted that covenant that binds us as our nation's warfighters to the American people. If we fail in that duty and we permit shallow indifference to grow in our hearts and in the hearts of our children, it'll be a special kind of cruelty for those who fought and died on our behalf.
Good words. All right, we've been talking about Objective Zero here. Bo's going to give out the links. Check out the Kickstarter campaign. Bo, you want to hit it one more time and take us out?
Yeah, go check out Objective Zero at objectivezero.org. Also, their Kickstarter campaign is in the description on the podcast below this if you're listening to it on podcast. It's also in the chat room on dbradio.net. Chris, thank you so much for what all of you guys are doing and pulling together this app. Even though it's been a tough ride, I know it has, but I know it's going to go great.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, brother.
DV Radio.